Yo, what's up friends? I'm Keisha and welcome back to Sister Punk Studios. Be sure you like and subscribe for more of my videos on music, anime, and my lifestyle vlogs. For this video, I'm giving you a summer throwback and some summer reading for this deep dive anime review. I'm going into an original concept developed by Studio Ghibli's Hayao Miyazaki into Hideaki Anno's classic story, predating his magnum opus Neon Genesis Evangelion. This anime is Nadia, Secret of Blue Water. I'll be taking a look at some of the themes surrounding this rare representation of black girls in anime, alongside Deborah Elizabeth Whaley's essay, Anime Dreams for African Girls, from her book Black Women in Sequence, re-inking comics, graphic novels, and anime. This anime opens in a new age of technology and commerce in the year 1889, when countless ships are being subsumed beneath the waves of the Atlantic Ocean. World powers grab at each other for colonies in Africa and Asia, and these threats become terrible warfare. But as the 20th century draws closer, civilization grows richer. But the people tremble in fear, and the clouds of world war darken the horizon. Nadia is a teenage acrobat in a traveling circus that has just arrived in Paris for the World Fair. Nadia, in a way, is a literal product of her time. The exoticism of her blackness is paraded for entertainment, and she is really enslaved alongside these caged animals, trained to do tricks for food and ultimately somebody else's profit. Despite her beauty and sharp wit, nothing about her life is really free. Even as she travels the ever-changing world, it brings her further apart from her unknown origins. In the city of Paris, Nadia catches the attention of a young French boy named John, an optimistic and very persistent plane engineer, who is head over heels for this mysterious, hard-to-catch, headstrong African girl, along with her pet lion cub and a glowing blue jewel around her neck. John, of course, jumps right into Nadia's business, trying to save her and also trying to hit on her too. And after her circus master sells her, she's hunted down for her magic blue water pendant. It's easy to say that Nadia sticks out like a sore thumb in this city. And yes, it's because she's black. We see this in the benevolent way that John remarks that he's surprised that Nadia can even speak the same language as him. But the show also does a decent job of noting the blatant racism that's alive and well in this generation. This is seen in John's aunt adamantly yelling that she doesn't want any colored girl in her house, despite John's more accepting nature. But Nadia is aware of her otherness and the discrimination that she faces for being black during this time. And her lack of privileges makes her defensive and unsure about her future. This rare depiction of black girls' representation in anime brings radical complexities to her identity. But Nadia still feels unrooted in this vast world. Just to say that she's from Africa doesn't acknowledge all the countries and tribes throughout the continent, let alone the origins of blackness that has been spread throughout the world. Deborah Whaley notes that Hideaki Anno's narrative constitutes a useful critique of race prejudice, as well as international imperialism. We see this in the TV show's postmodern narrative of the 19th century, as well as the use of dialogue that voices rhetorical strategies of gender and racial liberation, as well as self-agency for our main character, Nadia. Granted, the show still takes its chances at portraying Nadia as an anime fan service pinup girl. All of this is for a sexualized spectacle, alongside tons of accidental and totally non-consensual nudity. But this is all for cinematic purposes. This is a pretty common and at times problematic trope of female characters in anime. Hideaki Anno, in particular, has a habit of sexualizing teenagers throughout their coming-of-age process. Maybe it's to displace and purify the anxieties of adulthood through this representation of innocence. But he repeats this really intense sexual imagery in many iconic and fucked up scenes in Neon Genesis Evangelion. But back to Nadia. The looming foreshadowing of incoming warfare has made Nadia's dreams of finding her origins even harder to achieve. Trying and mostly failing to help Nadia with his inventions, John vows to get Nadia Nadia to Africa. He actually manages to help Nadia find a ridiculously top secret and futuristic submarine known as the Nautilus. The captain of this ship feels a strong connection to Nadia and her secret blue water jewel, and he shares the goal of finding and protecting its ancient secrets. But even as enemies threaten Nadia and her friends, Nadia is passionate about protecting all life. She's more than that annoying vegetarian that talks to animals, but she'd even want to spare the lives of murderous monsters. But it turns out the new monsters of the sea and sky are man-made, from submarines, fighter jets, and massive bombs. This anime consistently interjects warnings of incoming destruction from worldwide war, as well as the environmental impact of industrialization. Nadia is forced to reevaluate as more violence approaches her loved ones, and as she discovers the tragedies of her past and the weight of her destiny and powers. As Nadia begins to develop her character, so does Jean, in a way that challenges his privileged, optimistic lifestyle, especially after discovering the death of his father by Neo Atlantis, a fascist, supremacist, hyper-advanced terrorist organization, attempting to subject all of humanity into servitude. And Jean is struggling in these years between childhood and adulthood. Despite his brilliance, he's had a really sheltered and catered life. Jean also begins to realize that adulthood grants him the means to fulfill his promise to Nadia. But his methods of helping her get to her homeland have changed from flying the skies to using his intellect and abilities to dismantle Neo Atlantis. Ultimately, both Nadia and Jean recognize that their lives can have so much more potential, as long as they take accountability and reach out to others who care about them to help them succeed. Nadia and Jean's romantic development could also be seen as a really progressive interracial relationship for their time. And this anime has served as a radical inspiration for Black girls, women artists, writers, and anime lovers, representing a stylistic and positive representation of Black girlhood and pride. Alright class, that's it for today's lesson. I'm really glad that I could combine Deborah Whaley's work with one of my favorite anime. So for more details and deep dives of Black women in contemporary comic art, check out her book Black Women in Sequins, re-inking comics, graphic novels, and anime. If you like this review, go ahead and slap that like button and subscribe for more of my recommendations, music, and my vlogs. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.